There are words that stop a man completely. Not the words that come from opponents. Not the criticism from analysts or the pressure from front offices or the noise of a stadium crowd turning against you in a difficult moment. The words that truly stop a man, the words that reach past every wall, every composure, every carefully constructed version of strength, are the ones that come from a child. Small words. Honest words. Words spoken without strategy or agenda, the way only children speak. And on one ordinary afternoon, in the middle of a baseball season that the entire world was watching, a little boy named Charlie Freeman said something that stopped Shohei Ohtani completely. Not on a baseball field. Not in front of cameras. Not in any moment that was designed to be remembered. Charlie looked at his father, Freddie Freeman, first baseman for the Los Angeles Dodgers, World Series champion, one of the most beloved players in the game, and said something that made the whole room go quiet. "Dad doesn't pay attention to me like Uncle Ohtani does." A child's sulk. A child's honesty. The kind of sentence that lands like something much heavier than it sounds. Freddie Freeman heard it. And the look on his face, according to those who were present, was something between laughter and a wound. But the person those words hit hardest? Shohei Ohtani. The most famous baseball player on the planet. The man who carries the weight of two nations' expectations on his shoulders every single day. The man whose every at-bat is a global event, whose every appearance triggers waves of media coverage, whose schedule is managed down to the minute. That man heard what Charlie said. And according to everyone in that room, Ohtani went completely still. Powerless. Genuinely, completely powerless, in a way that no pitcher has ever made him, in a way that no moment on a baseball field has ever managed. A 4-year-old boy had done what the entire baseball world could not. He had stopped Shohei Ohtani in his tracks. To understand this moment, you have to understand what the Los Angeles Dodgers clubhouse looks like, not from the outside, not from the broadcast camera angles and the highlight packages, but from the inside. Because inside, it is something that the sports world rarely gets to see clearly. It is a family. Not in the way that team slogans use that word. Not as a motivational poster or a locker room banner. A real family, with the warmth and the noise and the chaos and the love that real families carry everywhere they go. Freddie Freeman is at the center of much of that warmth. He is not simply a teammate to the people around him. He is the kind of man who remembers birthdays, who checks in after hard games, who makes the newest player in the room feel like he has always belonged there. His wife, Chelsea, is a constant, grounding presence. And their sons, including Charlie, are a fixture of the clubhouse atmosphere in the way that children of deeply connected families always are. Charlie Freeman is 4 years old. He does not know about batting averages or contract negotiations or the pressure of a pennant race. He knows what he feels. He knows who makes him laugh. He knows who gets down on the floor with him and plays and pays attention and treats him like the most important person in the room. And somewhere along the way, in the ordinary daily life of a baseball clubhouse, Charlie Freeman decided that person was Shohei Ohtani. Uncle Ohtani. The relationship between Ohtani and the Freeman family did not begin with grand gestures. It began the way all genuine connections begin, with small moments, repeated consistently, over time. Ohtani has always been different with children. Those who have observed him closely note that something shifts in him when children are present. The careful composure he maintains in public, the measured responses, the professional distance, softens completely. He becomes looser. More present. More playful. With Charlie, specifically, there was an immediate connection that people around the team noticed early on. Ohtani would seek him out. Not in a performed, look at the famous athlete being sweet way. But genuinely, in the way that certain adults and certain children simply find each other and understand each other immediately, across all the differences of age and language and experience. Ohtani would get down to Charlie's level. Literally, physically lowering himself so they were eye to eye. He would give Charlie his full attention. Not the partial attention of an adult managing a child while thinking about something else. Full attention. The kind that children feel and respond to with complete, unconditional trust. Charlie responded exactly the way you would expect a 4-year-old to respond to that quality of presence. He decided Ohtani was his person. And he was not shy about saying so. It was an ordinary day in the way that days inside a professional baseball season are ordinary, which is to say, not ordinary at all, but carrying the particular rhythm that becomes familiar after enough weeks of travel and games and preparation. Freddie Freeman was present. Ohtani was nearby. Charlie was doing what 4-year-olds do, moving through the space with the complete freedom of a child who feels entirely at home, paying attention to whatever caught his interest, orbiting the adults around him with the casual authority that small children somehow possess. At some point, in the way these moments happen, Charlie felt he was not getting enough of his father's attention. Freddie Freeman is one of the most devoted fathers in professional baseball. His teammates will tell you that without hesitation. The way he speaks about his sons, the way he prioritizes them within the constraints of a brutal baseball schedule, the way he shows up for them in the margins of a season that demands almost everything, it is something that people who know him deeply respect and admire. But on this particular day, in this particular moment, Charlie was 4 years old and he wanted his father's attention and he was not getting enough of it. And so he said the thing that was most true to him in that moment. He looked at Freddie Freeman and he sulked. "Dad doesn't pay attention to me like Uncle Ohtani does." The room shifted. Freddie Freeman's expression moved through several things at once, the instinctive laugh of a parent hearing something unexpectedly funny, followed immediately by the particular sting of a child's honest comparison landing somewhere tender. But then everyone looked at Ohtani. And Ohtani had gone still. This is the moment that reveals something about Shohei Ohtani that the baseball world rarely gets to see directly. Because Ohtani's public image, carefully maintained, not through deception but through genuine privacy, is one of almost superhuman composure. He performs at a level that defies conventional understanding of what a baseball player can be. He manages the weight of global attention with a steadiness that seems almost architectural in its solidity. He does not crack under pressure. He does not waver. He does not show the seams. And then Charlie Freeman said 6 words and every bit of that composure dissolved instantly. Because Ohtani understood immediately what those words meant. Not just the surface meaning, the child preferring his attention, the innocent comparison, but the deeper meaning underneath it. That Charlie trusted him. Completely. Freely. Without condition. That in the mind of this 4-year-old boy, Ohtani was not the greatest baseball player in the world. He was not a global icon or a historic talent or a two-way phenomenon that analysts would spend decades trying to explain. He was simply Uncle Ohtani. The one who pays attention. The one who gets down on the floor. The one who is fully present when he is present. And being seen that way, being valued that way, by someone with absolutely no agenda, no awareness of what Ohtani represents to the outside world, no capacity for anything other than pure honest feeling, hit Ohtani in a place that is very difficult to reach. Those who were in the room described him as genuinely moved. Quietly overwhelmed. Powerless in the most beautiful possible sense of that word. Freddie Freeman, for his part, handled it the way only a man with deep security in his own identity as a father could handle it. He laughed. Not a defensive laugh. Not an embarrassed laugh. A real, full, warm laugh, the laugh of a man who loves his son completely and finds him endlessly, wonderfully surprising. And then, later, when he spoke about the moment, there was something underneath the laughter that was more complex. More honest. Because Freeman understood what Charlie was actually saying. Not as a criticism. Not as a comparison designed to wound. But as pure, transparent, 4-year-old truth. Charlie had noticed something. Charlie had felt something. And Charlie, because he is 4 years old and has not yet learned to soften his truths for the comfort of the people around him, had simply said it. Freeman also understood what it said about Ohtani. "That's just who he is," Freeman said. The simplicity of those words carrying more weight than a longer explanation ever could. Because what Charlie had identified, the full presence, the genuine attention, the way Ohtani shows up for the people around him with his whole self, is not something Ohtani performs for children specifically. It is not a public relations strategy or a conscious effort to appear warm and relatable. It is simply who he is. Every day. In every room. Whether the cameras are on or not. Children are the most honest audience in the world. They have not learned to pretend. They have not developed the social architecture that adults build to manage their impressions, protect their feelings, perform appropriate responses. They feel what they feel and they say what they say and they trust who they trust with a directness that is sometimes devastating in its accuracy. Charlie Freeman does not know that Shohei Ohtani is a baseball player who exists at a level of fame and accomplishment that very few humans in history have reached. He does not know about the records or the contract or the highlights that stop people mid-scroll on every platform in the world. He knows that when Uncle Ohtani is in the room, Uncle Ohtani sees him. That is all. That is everything. And in that simple, devastating, 4-year-old assessment, in that small sulk aimed at his father on an ordinary afternoon in the middle of a baseball season, Charlie Freeman told the world something true about Shohei Ohtani that no statistic has ever captured and no broadcast camera has ever quite caught. That behind the legend, behind the historic talent, behind the global icon, there is a man who is fully present with a child. Who gets on the floor. Who pays attention. Who makes a little boy feel like the most important person in the room. When this story traveled, and it traveled quickly, the way stories that are simply, undeniably human always travel, the response was immediate and deeply felt. Fans who had spent years marveling at Ohtani's athletic brilliance found themselves unexpectedly emotional about a 4-year-old's sulk. Parents recognized it instantly. Anyone who has ever watched a child choose their person, freely, honestly, without any of the complicated reasoning adults bring to everything, recognized what Charlie had done and what it meant. Media across the world picked it up. The framing was different in different places, the language changed across translations, but the core response was identical everywhere. This was not a story about baseball. This was a story about a man who, in the middle of everything the world demands of him, still finds a way to show up for the smallest people around him. Still finds a way to be present. Still finds a way to make a child feel seen. Shohei Ohtani will break more records. He will have more historic seasons. He will produce moments that analysts will spend years trying to properly contextualize within the history of the sport. But somewhere in the life of Charlie Freeman, in the memory of a little boy who will grow up and one day understand exactly who Uncle Ohtani was to the world, there will be a simpler truth. Uncle Ohtani paid attention. When it would have been easy not to. When the weight of everything he carries gave him every reasonable excuse not to. When the world was demanding his focus in 1,000 directions at once. He got on the floor. He was present. He made a child feel like the most important person in the room. And a 4-year-old boy, with the devastating honesty that only 4-year-old boys possess, noticed. Charlie Freeman noticed. And in noticing, in that small sulk, in those 6 quietly shattering words, he told the world something that every record book and every highlight reel had somehow missed. That the greatest thing about Shohei Ohtani has nothing to do with baseball. It never did.